Thank you for tuning in to the live today. Man, I'm just making it back. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Been out traveling, got back from a long hunting trip, really successful hunt. But today we're going to be talking about another facet of the outdoors is fishing. Fishing is one of my greatest obsessions. I'm addicted to fishing. Been fishing for a while, and I've discovered different ways of throughout the experience of the years of fishing. I've learned how to catch bigger bass at in the winter months. So I'm gonna go on live today just to give you guys a little bit of what we're gonna be talking about. Because I'm gonna be showing you baits that you could be using. Give you an example of certain rods that you could have for those baits. I'm gonna get in really good detail, so I wanted to come on live just to break it all down to you guys, man. So you guys ready to catch some big mouth bass? Well, I got the sauce for you right here, man. So one, you got to come with a different attitude. You got to understand that, most people are going to ask this one question: is the fishing better in the spring or in the winter? Most people opinion is the spawn, because the bass are more active, and the spawn could be very good as well. But what about those winter months? Those winter months in like certain regions could be better than others, but the winter fishing could just be as good as this fall. Actually, I think I've won more tournaments in wintertime because I caught I caught bigger sized bass than I did all through the spring while catching a bunch of, little 12-inch bass, 12-ounce bass, nothing that's like 2 to 3 pounds. So it kind of the first thing is the mindset has to be right, and you got to go in there with the mentality of I'm catching big fish. I like to do this method, and I go for my personal best every time I'm out there. So that's going to be the first key. But now we're going to get into some baits, man, and I got a new package, a new delivery that came in. I'm no affiliate with them whatsoever, but what I could say is these guys have some of the most unique baits out there available in the market. I'm gonna move the steer head. They're what I could say about their baits that are different than anyone else's. They have more. Their graphics, their coloring, their color coordination is very realistic, and it's in high definition, very detailed. So their artwork, their paint jobs are just beautiful. They also have quality hooks, and that is really important because a quality hook like this is going to determine if you're going to be able to keep that big largemouth bass on the line. If you don't have a good quality hook, I've seen hooks, man, I've used a 2-aught, 3-aught hook, and the hook got completely bent and snapped off. Man, it's crazy, like, what these big largemouth bass can actually do, and the power behind the force of their impact when they strike. So what I've realized on their crankbaits and all of their baits that have 2 treble hooks, for some reason, both hooks are more likely to be hooked on the fish than one hook. I had more strikes where the mouth was shut. One hook on the upper lip and the other one on the bottom lip, or even behind the gill. I was like, man, the fish is coming in sideways. These guys hooked them up, both hooks. So it's very hard for that fish to really fight. When they jump out the water, that's when a bass could really let go of that lure. He gets to spit it out. Or there's a little bit of slack that comes into the line, and it just moves it just enough to where, it jerks it completely out of his mouth. So having two hooks give you a whole lot better chance of getting them in. Now, I had got me some good ones, some this new tackle box, which is really nice, guys. 6 cents hard case, and they have bait tackle boxes for the particular baits. So this one's for all my crankbaits, and these are lipless now. And you see the quality of that paint. That paint job is so magnificent. I mean, all of these beautiful black design on the topper portion of the bait. Look at the colors, eyes, and then the belly even looks like a fish too. Now, some of them have a little rattle in there, and that's good for that reaction hit. I do like having rattle and weights in there so that this thing could drop down if I'm fishing, of course, in the wintertime. Usually the fish are going lower or going to where the water's a little bit more, has more pressure. So they're going to drop to about 8, 10 feet. Sometimes you get even shallow waters in the winter in some places. So they're going to go where the water is like more at a temperature that's going to stay at that temperature, and not going to be affected too much. And they'll usually hang out there, and then they'll move up to come and bait. So if you could catch them in those areas, you're going to get some good ones, because the big fish are going to be down there. But sometimes they don't have a rattle. Sometimes they're silent. And when the fish are very finicky and there's a lot of visibility, well, actually, when they're finicky, then you want to throw something that doesn't have a rattle in it at all. This rattle strike is more for muddy water. Those conditions could be pretty risky, not having a rattle on there, because the visibility for the fish and actually biting the bait, they don't have that chance to really see it. So if they could hear it, they know exactly where to go. Makes a huge difference too when there's heavy cover and in muddy water conditions like Louisiana. There's going to be areas in Florida as well that's like that. It's also, man, what I could say is when throwing these babies, you want to make sure that you have a really good rod. Something that's going to be lengthy. This is one of my favorite poles. It's a Lowe's Crush, and really nice. It's also a 7.3 medium heavy action rod. So I have a very, very good chance on bringing a bigger fish up and having more leverage on him to get his mouth up and have actually control the portion of his mouth and guide him to the boat or the bank, regardless of where you're fishing at. This is I think a 7.3. I have to look. I haven't seen these rods in a while. This is a 7.3, I think. Yeah, so the speed on this reel is really fast. I always go with a braid line. 40 pounds to 60 is on my rods, and all the time. And then I'll just use a leader if I'm gonna use like a fluorocarbon, and that's gonna be like a 12 pounds. Don't really do that often. Most of the time I'm fishing braid because I fish heavy cover, and the lines take a lot longer to snap. That's one of the things. And I'm also fishing heavier baits. That's why I'm also having to use a longer rod that has more of a harder rod to it. This is pretty much a very universal rod. I could go spinners, I could use jigs, I could fish topwater, frogs. So I'm always, this is like my go to when I'm looking to catch a big bass. I'm gonna go to the 7.3 heavy, medium heavy action rod. Um, and that could do the trick. Now, crankbaits are good because they create a lot of vibration and sound. And in the winter months, the fish are not going to burn as much energy looking for fish. But when they're there, they will feed. That's a really good tip to remember when it's cold, for sure. Um, you know, another one that I really like to throw too is, lipless jigs, like no, not lipless jigs. These type of crankbaits, with a paddle on them. Now, usually the ones that are more shallow, shorter beak, shorter paddle to them, they only go uh, 3 to 6 feet. The ones with the longer paddle to them, they're gonna get down into the deeper waters. So these are always really good to have in store. You never know um, when those bass are really wanting to bite more off of like a shiner, or these are pretty much imitate baby fish on the water. So crankbaits, especially long paddles, the bigger the bait, bigger the fish, less hookup ratios. So that means better for you. You would catch a bigger bass. Better chances of you going out and getting your personal best. So there's another bait that I actually really like to use, and I use this all year long. But in the winter months, I'm definitely fishing on the bottom of the lake beds or river beds, and not all the time I'll go for nest with just like a worm. Those are really good to use as well, but I'll go more with like a bigger presentation, like a jig. Jigs are going to be your bread and butter when it comes to catching largemouth bass. Remember to always have you some jigs, and there's all types of jigs you can have: football jigs, swim jigs. Um, there's so many of them. This is one in particular is a swim jig. I like the swim jig. Uh, they one of my top preferences. 6 cents got a really good structure and heads on them. You can also buy extra skirts when the skirts get messed up. But I do like they actually have um, a ring on here to, keep your swim baits or your creature baits that you're going to add on to this. I like to get the presentation to about, right now it's the size of my palm. I'm gonna bring it out to the tip of my ring finger or middle finger. Bigger the presentation, bigger the bass. I've learned too, even little bass go after big baits too. They want to fill that stomach out. And in winter months, you got to also think too, the energy they're spending on fresh, the energy that they're spending on uh, fishing for fish, for hunting for fish, is less. They're actually just waiting for it to come right there in front of them, and then they're go ahead and try to have dinner. um, and this 6 cents got like a super dope. You could fit 50 jigs in here. You see, my jigs are, I'm pretty much almost completed. I only have a couple cells left. Um, there's all types of jigs. Like, now, you want to go get you, there's going to be 3 sizes that you really want to practice on and get your technique down when it comes to bigger bass and just fishing recreational for fun. You want to have a half ounce and a 3/8. Those two are going to be your best ticket to catching fish and big size bass out there in the water. It's going to be able to punch through lily pads, you know, grass that's left up on the top of the water. You're going to be able to get down into the treetops. You'll be able to get and actually get over the rocks easier on the rock beds. It's very important to have a nice presentation with every cast. Think about, say this wall is where there's a bush and that tree has structure on it. I would know that there's going to be a fish by that tree. When that fish sees another bait fish going anywhere near the domain of that tree, that's a predator creatures. They're going to get curious. And depending on the mood, they either will get mad, hungry, or during the spawn, they'll be protective. So a jig will always get you in those areas. That's what I like about the jigs. This one is really cool because it has on the hook, it actually swivels back and forth. So as the bait goes up, it will move up more like a crawfish, how a crawfish tail goes back and forth. So that is actually pretty neat. I've never seen any other company have something similar to that. I've seen some elbow joint ones too, from different companies. Those are good. This is what I prefer to really fish with is 6 cents jigs, and this is why. So look at the head on this bait here. Got the yellow belly, yellow green chartreuse with the red head, black top, so it could be mistaken of bullfrog, tadpole, bluegill, pretty much everything that's on the bass menu. Also, it has a ring for your accessory for your creature baits and slim baits for your plastic, and this also moves back and forth and has a joint. So pretty neat, man. That is in really good detail. I mean, you can't get really better than that detail there. Those are 3/8. I'll keep my half ounce here, my 3/8 here, and then I got 3/8 here also, and then we're going to a bigger. Now this is a 1 ounce jig. Now this is a massive bait to be fishing with, no doubt about it. You could really catch bass on it though. And I like to use it when I'm fishing in real deep water, because that's gonna get it down there a lot quicker. And I got a little bit more control over how I'm filling the bottom with that heavier bait in deep water, say 40 to 60 feet, 75 feet in some places. I know Lake Travis and Travis Lake in Texas gets down to 75. Those canyon lakes out in the west, definitely going to be good. Some of these rivers can be pretty deep in Florida with the springs. So I like, or even in the rivers, um, the bigger the bait, man, the better it is for you actually, because that current will take that bait, especially like on the Swanee River down here in Florida, man. It's got some pretty good current and it's actually going all the way to the ocean. So the more water that comes up from East Georgia, it's just pushing. It could, pretty much make that current a little bit quicker. I like big baits, heavy baits. Get you a half jig, 3/8 jig. Even go to an ounce. Always put an accessory on there. Um, I got these flukes or these swim baits from my man from 307 Custom Baits. He sends me all the time. That's this guy right here. But he's got some really good stuff, man. I'll put these creature baits on. I'll put these swim baits on there. Sometimes I'll even, put a fluke on there. You get that wobble tail. Can't beat it. And of course, you want to always keep you a couple rage tails. These are going to save you so much time and energy, and you will catch so much fish using these on slim jigs, on spinner baits, on pretty much anything. uh, this is great. Or just use it by itself. Put frogs. This one's kind of damaged. But usually what I'll do is this is an older slim jig from 6 cents that I had, a half ounce. This one, the skirt got jacked up, but you see how I have this on there, and it gives it way bigger presentation now than it was before. Yeah, this is what's good. I could go buy some new skirts for this, and I'll have me pretty much a brand new bait. You can see that the hook is still in good shape. There's a little bit of grain, but if I just clean it off a little bit, it'll be perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with this hook. You can barely bend it. So quality, man, does pay off when you are fishing, is getting the right gear. And the right gear could set you off to the next place. Now, I want to look for... Okay. This is very important to understand, guys. A lot of fishermen out there, they talk about top water strikes. And the big question is, could you still get top water hits in the winter months? Some people will say, no, the fish are not as active. They won't burn as much energy. And that's true in a very good scientific matter. Yeah, it is facts that they don't do that. But you shouldn't just go completely away from top water baits in the winter months, because they still would be out sometimes when the sun's out, sunbathing and being up on higher water at that time. Or going after shiners in the middle of the lake. So I throw top water all year long. Now I throw it a whole lot more in the springtime. But if I'm not getting any hits on the bottom or mid-range, I'm going to throw a top water bait. Now this bait has got some wear and tear in it, guys. I will still throw it until the hook falls off. Why? I've been very successful on getting strikes and hookups from larger bass, from bigger fish, and what I will say, it's so much better to see a fish getting hit with top water baits. Now, what I do like, this is a live target bluegill. These guys are really nice, man. They got like 3 different sizes. I think this is the medium size. I can't remember how they actually weigh them out. They're pretty heavy. You get them out there quick. Man, you can even put some stuff in here, make them rattle a little bit. I never really do that. I just keep it original. I do bend the hooks a little bit more out. Seem like you get better hookups that way. But I could throw this shit anywhere. I could throw it in the banks. I could throw it in the middle of the lake. I could throw it anywhere, and I could skip it off of lily pads. I could fish it on top of lily pads. I could fish it on top of grass. I could fish it in tree tops. I could fish it in grass tops. I could fish it pretty much anywhere, and it's not going to get hooked up. This bait is a must-have, even in the winter months. Now, there's one more bait that I wanted to bring out, but I believe I left it in the other room, and that's a spinner bait. You want to definitely throw out spinner baits during the winter months. So if you're trying to catch more bass, guys, mainly the first step is to get the mindset right. Go out for your personal best every single time. 2, get some gear that is going to get you the bigger fish. Fish for bigger baits. Get a bigger rod to be able to handle that bigger fish. Make sure you have good, strong line. Braided line, 40, 35-pound test. You know, you could go with a bait caster. You could go with a spinner rod. It doesn't really make a difference. Make sure you just got good quality line. Fluorocarbon line works as well, too, just as good. Also, knots. What type of knot are you tying on your line? That is a very important thing, guys. Fisherman knot always works, don't matter what. I mean, I put the string in there, twist it around 8 times, come back around, just pull tight. The more it pulls, the stronger the knot gets. That's a really good one. Also, a sailor knot. Those 2 knots, hands down, have the strongest hold to them. So make sure you're getting your knots down right. I'm going to do a video of that for you guys where I could get more in detail on different fishing knots and which ones to actually use for certain type of hooks and for certain type of baits. So stay tuned for that, guys. That'll be coming up here this week. You get your baits together, got your knots, got your rod. Now, the biggest question is where the fish are at. That is up to you to get out on the water and actually do some scouting. And the best way to do some scouting while fishing is actually fish. So I like to say, man, if you fishing on lakes that have, boat docks, hit those boat docks up. Anywhere where there's shelters at, there's cover. The shaded areas are going to be the best places for catching fish. Tree tops, underneath trees, any structures that are coming out of the water, you're going to be looking at those things. I'll fish from the bank to the boat. If you're on the bank, then, you could fish pretty much the seawall on an angle, on a 60-degree angle, or you could fish straight out, or you could cover straight out and then start fishing, all the way to go straight out and then go all the way to the end of the bank and then target this other side as well. For the most part, You got to be out there, guys. And you got to be out there putting some time in. A little bit of work, a little bit of energy is going to be required. But the hookups, the fish, and the fishing could get a whole lot better. Uh, Big bait's going to win. Also, get you a big swim bait. You know, swim bait's always going to catch you a larger fish. You're going to get less hookup ratio on little fish, but you will catch bigger fish on your fishing trips. Tuning out, guys. Thank you for tuning into my channel. I got some more fishing content coming out, so be looking. You guys should be looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to putting out some new content. It's gonna get very detailed with fishing. I'm gonna bring you out there on the water, show you how to test them out. We'll be going live. Reels are coming in daily. Hold Your Mouth's about to be back on the water here. Fishing MLF this coming year. 5 tournaments in the Gator Division. June 20th, they start. So it's going to be a really good season. Probably going to actually do some more tournaments on top of that. See how it goes. But for the most part, guys, man, it's Alex Silva with Sylvie Outdoors. Thank you for tuning in with Hold Your Mouth Fishing. Peace and God bless.